In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time. It's Avi Bernard here with you every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Here's what you might have missed. Donald Trump embraced a January 6th defendant at a dinner during a campaign stop last night, calling the woman who served prison time for her actions during the Capitol attack and wants former Vice President Mike Pence executed for treason. Trump called her terrific. The appearance came the same day Pence testified before a federal grand jury as part of Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation into Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election and keep himself in power. A recent comment by a Montana Republican state lawmaker who sponsored legislation to ban gender-affirming medical care for transgender minors has gone viral and drawn backlash. Republican State Rep Carrie Seekins-Crow suggested during a floor debate that she would rather risk her daughter dying by suicide than allow her to transition genders. Seekins-Crow did not say that her daughter identified as transgender, but said she was one of those parents who lived with a daughter who was suicidal for 3 years. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis prepares to jump into the presidential race, and a growing number of his supporters say he is sorely in need of a change in strategy if he's to have any chance of defeating Donald Trump for the GOP nomination. They point to his drop in the polls, his lack of outreach to potential supporters who have instead backed Trump, and the policy issues he has focused on. For instance, spending his time battling one of the largest employers in the state, i.e. Disney, moving to the right on abortion, i.e. signing a 6-week ban, and cleaning up verbal missteps on the war in Ukraine. There's no conservative-liberal divide on the U.S. Supreme Court when it comes to calls for a new enforceable ethics code. All 9 justices, in a rare step on Tuesday, released a joint statement reaffirming their voluntary adherence to a general code of conduct, but rebutting proposals for independent oversight, mandatory compliance with ethics rules, and greater transparency in cases of recusal. The implication, though not expressly stated, is that the court unanimously rejects legislation proposed by Democrats seeking to impose on the justices the same ethics obligations applied to all other federal judges. A Texas man on a date who paid $40 to park only to learn inside a Houston burger joint that he was scammed allegedly went back and fatally shot the man posing as an attendant and then returned for dinner. 29-year-old Eric Aguirre allegedly told his date everything was fine and that he just scared the man after returning to the Rodeo Goat restaurant from the parking lot. They then started walking to a table but left to eat someplace else after Aguirre looked uncomfortable. A Dutch court on Friday banned a man from donating any more of his sperm after he fathered at least 550 children in the Netherlands and other countries and misled prospective parents about the number of offspring he helped to conceive. A judge at the Hague District Court ordered the halt in an injunction brought by the mother of a child conceived with the donor's sperm and a foundation representing other parents. A new report released this week by the Environmental Protection Agency projects the devastating health impact of climate change on children. Effects include higher rates of respiratory disease, reduced academic achievement, higher rates of infections, and risk of housing insecurity in coastal cities. And Roy Wood Jr. is set to host the White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight. Are you excited about that? Because I am. When we come forward, I'll be joined by Cliff Beach, musician and author, to talk about his music and his book, Side Hustle and Flow, when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580. Let's get back
back to business, Los Angeles County. The Economic Opportunity Grant Program is now open. This program is designed to provide financial support to qualified small businesses, micro entrepreneurs, food industry businesses such as restaurants, and nonprofits in Los Angeles County. Approximately 4,600 grants of up to $2,500 will be administered to qualified micro businesses that face barriers to accessing capital resources. To learn more about the Economic Opportunity Grant Program, visit www.grants.lacounty.gov. The application process is fast and easy. Don't miss the opportunity to get back to business. This program is administered by the County of Los Angeles through its Department of Economic Opportunity and funded in part through a grant from the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. Application portal is powered by Lendistry. Visit www.grants.lacounty.gov and get back to business.
I want to thank you.
KBLA Talk 1580 would like to thank all of the businesses that tune into KBLA at work. We celebrate you, your calls to the station, and your overall support. To show our appreciation, we would like to treat your office to a lunch for 10, brought to you by the Original Taco Pete's. Open the KBLA Talk 1580 app or log on to KBLA1580.com to submit your office to be selected for our Office of the Week. We know you're just like our staff, putting in many hard, smart working hours per week. We just want to say thank you, and we appreciate you. You and your staff deserve lunch on us. Enter your office to win lunch for 10 and be highlighted on KBLA Talk 1580 as our Office of the Week. Open the KBLA app or log on to KBLA 1580 to enter your office today to become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week, sponsored by the Original Taco Pete's, a black-owned restaurant. Become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week. This has been a KBLA Talk 1580 community call to action.
I know it could not happen without you.
King C. Gillette is the modern man's answer to their facial hair. A complete set of precision tools and quality care products fit for your beard style. There's the King C. Gillette Beard Thickener that strengthens the facial hair you already have while increasing the volume of each strand for a noticeably thicker look. And with daily use, it maintains thickness with a lightweight fragrance with the King C. Gillette signature scent. Master your style with King C. Gillette.
Here at NerdWallet, we often see people struggle with financial decisions, like with Helen. Hey, Helen.
Hello.
Helen, you're all over the place.
I'm trying to pick a rewards credit card, and I've ended up, well, everywhere.
With NerdWallet, you don't have to feel all over the place. NerdWallet has side-by-side comparisons of top credit cards. So whether you need a card for groceries or travel, the smartest card for you is right there.
Wow. Now I'm in one place with the right travel rewards card. Nice.
Nice indeed. NerdWallet, the smartest decision for all your financial decisions.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we are back on the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. It's Avi Bernard keeping you company, and I am joined by Cliff Beach, who is a musician and an author. Cliff, welcome to the show.
Hey, Avi, thanks for having me.
Really glad to have you. And the first thing that I noticed was that your name sounds too good to be true. It sounds like one of those names that's made up, that you, like my name is Stormy Beach, or like, you can say I'm a new dad, and so I've been saying dad jokes for a long time, but I might, if my last name was Beach, someone would say, I'm about to go to the beach. I'd say, I am the beach, and you can't come over. I'm really stupid. But, I feel like that's one of those names, like if your last name is like, Baller or something, or, beach. And I digress. But is that your government name?
It's not my official government name.
I knew it.
I mean, that is my shortened name. My full name is Clifton. So my full legal name, Clifton William Beach III.
Okay.
Very English from one side of my family, but Cliff Beach is what everybody knows it by. It's 2 land forms, 5 letters each. It sounds exactly like it's spelled, so
easy.
Yeah,
easy.
exactly.
Yeah, people don't, like my name is Avi. It's spelled A-V-I, and you wouldn't believe, especially being in radio for so long, when people, they don't see my name spelled. They just hear me say it, and I don't always spell it when I say it, so they, they'll say, hey, RV, that somehow an R gets in there, but that happens with black people a lot, like as in with Sade.
Oh, yeah.
There's definitely not an R in Sade, but, we like to add the R sometimes. And Hawthorne, with the city of Hawthorne, we add a R in there sometimes for some reason. I don't know why that is, but anyway, though, your book is called Side Hustle and Flow.
Mm-hmm.
And I just received a copy of it yesterday. I'm looking forward to reading it, but I do know that it's about what it's like to have a music career while also having a regular job.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
And so I just want to start by asking, what regular job or jobs have you held over the course of your music career?
Well, right now, my full-time job, I'm vice president of digital and operations for a growing global beauty firm. And before that, I used to work with the L'Oreal Group. So I've been in beauty for the last decade.
So you have like a real job, like a like a job that a lot of people would consider a career.
Correct. Yeah. So I have a full-time career, and then I do music full-time, and it's always been that way for the last 20 years. I call it the Hollywood Shuffle. Everyone talks about like stocks and having a diverse portfolio. If you want to have a music career this day and age, if you're not, a household name, you got to do more than one thing. And even within music, you got to do more than one thing. Like within music, I started as a singer and a keyboardist, and then branched out into producing and songwriting and having a publishing company and licensing music and having a record label. Like, it's like you just kind of, through necessity, expand your brand and grow. Because when going to music school, eventually I went back and got my MBA at Pepperdine in 2010. The reason for that is because music and business, they go hand in hand. There's so much where artists will try to focus on, like you said, you just have an 18-month-old, focusing on having the baby. That's creating the thing. Mm-hmm. But then once you have a baby, there's work to do. You have to then raise it and do other stuff. And so the PR and the marketing and building a brand and doing social media, all those things are necessary evils that you have to do. And then from there, somebody may say, can you feature with this artist? Can you write for this thing? Can you do something in LA, for film music and stuff like that? So you want to be able to diversify. And by having a steady job, it allows you to not have to be the starving artist. Now, some artists may say if you're not starving, then you're not as committed, but I don't think that's true. I think you're actually more committed because it makes you focus on your time management. And so if you're happening to life instead of life happening to you, then you can get more things done. But not everybody is structuring, it's okay to just have a dream, but then you got to build like a tactical plan and strategy behind that.
So you talked about music being a business, and business being a big part of music, and I've heard a lot of people in the music industry talk about this, and I think I've heard a lot that touring is where you make the most money, but how do you, as a up and coming musician or an indie musician, how do you kind of start to build your brand to where you can make money in the music industry? Because I know it's there's probably more competition than ever, especially with YouTube, and some people do get discovered on YouTube. I think like Justin Bieber, and this kind of thing happens. But how do you start a music career and build it up to the point where you have won all these awards and your music is featured on major networks?
Yes, thank you.
And so how do you kind of get to this point?
Well, the first thing is that you have to start. You're not going to be great in the beginning, so just start, get out there. The wonderful thing is that with YouTube, with Spotify, with all of these democratized platforms, you don't need to wait for somebody else to greenlight you. You can greenlight yourself, and you can bootstrap yourself when you're side hustling. From there, out of all the places that you can make money, you can make them however you want. Touring can be difficult because you do spend a lot of money on overhead, and even if you're opening for someone, unless you have a label or something backing you, like that could be labor intensive and time intensive. But a lot of people are getting a lot of longevity. And years ago I was mentored by Akon on the radio, and we talked about songwriting and licensing, he said was like your retirement. So having a publishing company, having a catalog of music, and really if you become smart at it, you're able as a musician to create things that are for sync. Like when you're looking at these briefs that are coming out, people are looking for positive, upbeat, 120 BPM. Like there's a formula. In the same way that Will Smith, rest in peace, I guess, after the whole aftermath.
You mean to like his public image?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so, but anyway, when he was trying to become a star, successfully is clue. So it's like, he could have just rode the wave of Fresh Prince, but what he did is he sat down and he said, let me figure out what the top grossing movies of all times did, and then I want to make those types of movies. And he's like, okay,
Okay.
you gotta have action, you gotta have aliens, you gotta have all these things. And in the same way with music, you can figure out for licensing for commercials and film and TV and sync what they're looking for mostly, and then how to create music for that, which is a little bit different.
But it can't be that easy, though. I mean, I'm sure that any person can discover what they're looking for, but then actually creating it is a whole different thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's a process, and so you have to make all these baby steps to be able to get there. Like Prince, you look at him as an amazing artist. You have to make a lot of okay songs to eventually have those hits. And if when you play someone like Pharrell, like they have, or Timbaland, they have all these beats, and they're like, here are my A beats, here are my B beats, here are my C beats, because you're going to always be creating, and some things are going to hit more than others. So
Yeah.
I think you just got to put some stuff out there, see what sticks, but always then, be true to yourself. I think the more you become as an artist, where you have something to say that's compelling, people really gravitate to you because they're really buying into you. And that's what Side Hustle and Flow, the book, is about too. It's all about who you are as a person. And all the artists that I admired, over the last 100 years of music, starting with jazz and the Miles Davis and Herbie Hancocks and Wayne Shorters of the world, up into, the Kendrick Lamars and Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. What I like about them is that they always are trying to be true to themselves, and the closer that they become, like when Bruno started, he was doing very pop, then he moved into Uptown Funk, and you can see he really became into his own. And so when you're allowed to be able to do that, you saw that with the growth of Stevie Wonder, you saw that with the growth of Marvin Gaye, where they started writing their own songs and producing their own songs and pushing away from Berry Gordy and Motown. That the more you become true to yourself and discover who you are, and you keep reinventing that, then people will have a longer career.
All right, so you mentioned that staying true to yourself is important in your music journey and in your success. But let's talk about the book Side Hustle and Flow and what you talk about, what you get into in terms of staying true to yourself and how people do that and what that looks like on a day-to-day basis.
Definitely. Well, the book starts out with why not you, why not now, because it's all about mindset. If you have limited thinking or a limited mindset, you're not adopting a growth mindset mentality, then you're already done. And so many people that are, as we get older, people worry about getting sick and health and dying a natural death. But there are many deaths that you can die in life. There's a natural death, there's a spiritual death, but more importantly, I think there's a death when you stop moving in your purpose. Like whenever that happens in life, like you're already dead in the water. Like life has passed you by and you've ceased to thrive. You're just merely surviving and getting pushed through the wind. So why not you, why not now? You really have to, mindset wise, visualize that you can do it, because that's going to be the precipice to then start to dream and to be able to have a compelling why, to be able to make the sacrifices it takes daily to get it done.
What does that visualization look like?
It's always different for different people, but essentially, like if you see yourself as a musician winning a Grammy, then you work backwards to see like what are the steps that has to take. Now, you can't make a goal that's dependent on someone else doing something. So you can't necessarily say like, I want to win a Grammy, because that's going to be voted by other people. But you can say is like, I want to position myself to be able to be in the running for that, because I've created content and quality and I've worked on my craft, which is things that you can control. So that's how I like to start and build when I'm coaching clients on having the dream. It's like dream as big as possible. When you think of the Wright brothers and flying around the world, people thought that was impossible. When you look at Roger Bannister, who ran under a 4-minute mile, people thought that was physiologically impossible. And then after he did it, all these other people miraculously now can do it.
Now you can't even be anywhere near the Olympics unless you can run like a 3:30 or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, and I learned in the book, I talked to a coach up in Ryerson in Canada who basically all his track and field athletes would run to whatever he set as the standard. So if he said run under 4 minutes, everyone ran 3:59. When he moved it to 3:30, then now everybody's running at 3:29. It wasn't that people became faster, it's that everybody, almost 80-90% of people have learned to coast in life. Like I can do enough to get by, or I don't want to give it all because you may ask more of me and I have nothing left. So they always hold back. So it's like as you start to move the goalposts forward for yourself and for other people, then you will see, in a bell curve, 80-90% of people will hit, the minimum standard required.
So people kind of learn the minimum that they need to do, and then they're able to do it.
Exactly.
And so if our mindset is that the minimum is A, then we'll be able to wrap our mind around that, and we can get to the place where we can do that because we just see that as the minimum, and we see ourselves as being able to do at least the minimum. But then if we say, well, you know what, actually the minimum is B, but it's a much more difficult thing to achieve or a much higher standard, then we'll be able to do that too, just because we believe we can.
Exactly. And so the whole thing is that life will never really get easier. You just have to become better. The people that excel in life are the ones that are pouring into their own personal self-development. That realize whether you work for yourself or you work for someone else, you still work for you. That's why if you're not doing that, AI or a person who will work cheaper, better, faster can replace you. But you become irreplaceable and indispensable if you continue to pour into yourself. That's the best investment anybody can make, is in yourself and personal development.
So you talk about setting goals and visualizing. When you started out in music, what did you see? What did you visualize your career to be?
That's a good question. So in the beginning, I was very young and I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to learn as much as possible. So I feel like everyone should get a mentor. So I worked very hard in life to have mentors in a variety of spaces, not just in music, but in business. Anyone that was doing something well, because I always had this question in my mind, why does one person's life exponentially better than someone else's? It's like, well, if success is leaving clues, you don't have the lifespan to be able to make all of the mistakes to be able to learn. So if you can go out there and find somebody who can get you further up the road, learning from their mistakes in their life, then that's what the book is about, and that's what I've always subscribed to. So in my 20s, all I did was like, who knows something I don't know, and how can I get that information, and how can I do that 5-10x faster? Because there's already somebody hotter, younger, faster, better than me out there.
There's always going to be someone who's like that. I mean, there's so many people, and the new generations are always coming up, and they're coming up and learning faster, and they're doing, as you said, they learned from the previous generations, and so there's always going to be someone coming up behind us who is better looking or better at what we do than we are. So yeah, but I didn't mean to cut you off though. But yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah. So in terms of setting goals, it really was not until my 30s, in the last decade, where I really was like, okay, let's make a hardcore plan. So 10 years ago, I made a plan called Who the Funk is Cliff Beach, which was my first EP, and beyond. Okay. And that was a plan to make 10 albums, and we're just getting up to the last 2, a soul record and a jazz record now, 10 years later.
So you have 8 albums done of those 10?
Yeah, and we've done some live ones, we've done EPs, we've done full-length albums. They're all online under Cliff Beach. But because I created a long time horizon and had all these milestones and baby steps every year working on a different project, or every 2 years working on a different project, and some projects I hadn't even thought about came up during that time, and we added them in there. But I think people, they don't give themselves enough to do in the short term, and they don't also anticipate thinking in the long term. People should be thinking and the micro and macro level simultaneously. You should be looking at, what do I do today? What's the most important thing today that I have to get done? And do that first, eat that frog. But then beyond that, what's my year plan? What's my 6-month plan? What's my 5-year plan? What's my 10-year plan? Because it's going to take longer. You plant seeds and things spring up at different times. You put a bamboo seed in the ground and you water it for 5 years, nothing happens. And at the 5th year, all of a sudden it shoots up 90 feet. People thought nothing was happening, but it's like that's how you practice. That's how you prepare. You learn all those fundamentals and build on that. But you definitely need much longer time horizon than you think. Everything takes longer than you think.
So do you think that the younger generations have a shorter attention span, and so they are more likely to do what you said, and in terms of, this is taking too long, I want to do something else, or this is taking too long, I failed. Mm-hmm. And so now I have to go do, what you would describe as dying inside and giving up on their dream. Mm-hmm. So how do you speak to younger people and convince them that what you said is true about Yeah, I mean, I know that you've been at this, but most of the progress happens underground. You're not able to see it, and there's the old saying, you work hard for 10 years and then you make it overnight. And so, what do you say to the younger generation who believes that things do need to come quicker?
Yeah, I mean, that's hard because the younger generations with technology moving everything faster, they do have less attention span, and but at the end of the day, the world needs more crock pots than microwaves. Like, you need to learn about discipline, and that takes accepting that delayed gratification is a thing. Not everything can be instantaneous, and that is a disservice that I feel technology has done, especially with music. It's like now you can just go click, 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 look something up. When I was growing up, you had to go to a physical library, to a physical store, and go out there, and you had a different commitment. And that's why you look at artists like Kendrick Lamar. They're like, I don't want this RAA certification to a gold or diamond for streams, because it's not the same as Michael Jackson Thriller, someone actually going out and getting 40 million physical copies. So it is different.
But I mean, at the same time, though, it's a different world, and it is, you can't really compare how things are now to how they were. I mean, people, like you said, people had to go get the record or the CD. I remember going to Tower Records or Sam Goody and going and shopping in the aisles and looking at CDs and reading the back covers and I only had money for one CD. Which one am I going to get? I remember all that. And and now, I mean, I'm still as much of a music fan as I was, but I'm probably gonna just download the thing on Apple Music, because that's just, I don't have a CD player anymore. I don't. It's not the same, and as much as I used to enjoy buying that CD and reading the cover and seeing produced by and seeing all the thank yous from the artists, I used to love that stuff.
Of course.
But it's not the same now, and so when we come forward, I want to ask you about that, because you mentioned that Kendrick Lamar doesn't want the recognition that most artists get now. He wants to have it like it was in Michael Jackson's day. But I want to ask you about that conundrum when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Julius White, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The civil rape trial involving former President Donald Trump resumes on Monday. E. Jean Carroll, who's suing Trump, was on the witness stand Thursday and was cross-examined by Trump's lawyer, who grilled her about why she didn't scream during the alleged assault in a New York City department store dressing room. After numerous questions about it, Carroll said, "He raped me, whether I screamed or not." Well, the state of California is banning the sales of gas-powered trucks by 2036 and is limiting gas-powered big rigs, buses, and other large vehicles over the next few years. And media members, politicians, and celebrities planning to attend tomorrow night's White House Correspondents' Dinner at the Washington Hilton might want to think about staying overnight at the hotel. Activists with the group Climate Defiance are planning to form a blockade around the Hilton before the event, saying their previous calls for action have gone unanswered. I'm Julius White on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Mid-City on the 10 eastbound before La Cienega Boulevard, you got a crash. Clearing to the right shoulder overall. It's a crawl coming away from the 405. In the Cahuenga Pass, 101 southbound after Barham Boulevard, got a wreck in the center lane. It's going to be slow from Lancashire. Griffith Park on the 134 eastbound before Forest Lawn. That earlier crash is cleared. And in Anaheim Hills, 241 northbound before the 91. We had an earlier crash in the lanes. That is cleared as well.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com, and I sell custom blinds designed for do-it-yourselfers. Unlike stock blinds offered at big box retailers, Blindster blinds are custom made for your windows and shipping is free. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The NBA Western Conference semifinals could be finalized tonight if the Lakers beat Memphis and Golden State closes out Sacramento. The Lakers and Golden State will meet up in the semifinals next week. Phoenix is at Denver tomorrow night. The Eastern Conference semifinals are set. Miami is at New York Sunday for Game 1. Philadelphia and Boston jump it up Monday night. Congratulations to Suns forward Kevin Durant. He becomes just the third NBA player to get a lifetime contract with Nike. Durant joins LeBron and Michael Jordan in that elite category. Congrats also to Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. He now has the NFL's highest average salary after signing a 5-year extension worth $260 million. $185 $5 million is guaranteed. The new deal pays Jackson $52 million a year. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Connection established. Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a whole lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. Today I spoke with Tatiana, a community manager for JP Morgan Chase.
Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Tatiana Roberts. I am a community manager for JP Morgan Chase. And I have to honestly say that this has been the most fulfilling position that I've ever had, where I get to give back to the community because I saw my mom's struggles. That's really what fuels what I do to make sure that that the community has all the access to the resources that my mother didn't have.
So for the mother who's in business, what are 3 quick tips you can give to ensure that they're on the right path to accessing financial support from a bank like Chase?
Say number 1, just make sure that you're checking your credit on a consistent basis and taking action to either fix your credit, maintain your credit, or rebuild your credit. The second thing would be budget. I know that B word is kind of like ugly for, right? A lot of people don't like that B word, but it has to be done. We need to tell our money where to go. The last thing is to build a network of supporters that are going to lift you up.
The community building here in Crenshaw is that network. So visit the Chase Community Center on Crenshaw and Vernon. Meet a banker today. Tell them about your business. I'm Maisha Cairo in the community for KBLA with JP Morgan Chase.
Are you between 18 and 26 years old and trying to find out how you're supposed to make all this work? If you've said, I need a job and some transportation, rent, it's so high. Food too. There's childcare and I need to go back to school. I need to transform my life. Well, help is on the way. Transform Your Life Day is coming Saturday, April 29th at San Manuel Stadium. It's a shopping mall of free community services where you can talk with programs and even enroll right on the spot. It's free help for young adults to get you started on meaningful careers, finish up your diploma or your college degree. There's help with finding housing, transportation, food, and childcare. Plus, you get a free ticket to the 66ers game, free parking along with prizes. Get there early for free food. Reserve your free space today at ccc.ca.gov. That's ccc.ca.gov. ccc.ca.gov.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time. I'm Avi Bernard here with you every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. and we are joined by musician and author Cliff Beach. So glad you're able to join us, Cliff. And before we stepped aside, we were talking about Kendrick Lamar and Michael Jackson. And Kendrick Lamar is one of my favorite artists right now. Michael Jackson is one of my favorite artists of all time. So I think it's a good conversation to have about those two specifically. Mm-hmm. And you saying that Kendrick Lamar saying he didn't want the credit for album sales in terms of streams because he likes that how it used to be when people had to go buy the physical record or the CD. Mm-hmm. But is it realistic for an artist these days to have that same goal?
No, it's definitely not realistic because so many things have changed. Things like Tower Records are no more. But more importantly, I think what Kendrick is saying as an artist is that when people physically have to do something, it creates a different compelling why. of them really feeling motivated and inspired, by the content. If you can, in 3 seconds, just look up the content or flip to TikTok and see something, then you don't really have a full buy-in. At the same time, people, they passively listen to a lot of things in that way, whereas like you had to actively listen. If you had to, go to the physical radio and wait for that song to come on and press record and try to catch it in time and hope the DJ doesn't talk over it, that was a different experience than just being like, oh, I can just do whatever. So now you have people like in this binging culture where they're like, there's no sense of urgency. It's like, I don't need to go see you live. I can just watch it later. Or I can just, stream this later. Whereas before it was like, oh, Michael Jackson is debuting, before The Simpsons on Fox, his video. The only artist I've ever seen to be able to have the star power to be able to do that. Also, the only artist I've ever seen make grown men cry. I mean, bawling at the concerts. But I think you have to see that the world has changed. But I like Kendrick. Kendrick has won, a lot of awards and stayed true to himself, and I've seen his evolution and growth. So I don't think you can go back, but I understand his sentiment of you want people to be compelled to get up off their butt and do something.
My man Andy is agreeing with you 100%. Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying, and I think it is the concept of binge culture is a real thing, because I remember those days you're talking about. I grew up in the era where, you had to catch your favorite song on the radio, and you had to listen to the radio until they played it, and hope they played it, and then tried to record it on like a Walkman or something.
Mm-hmm.
Man, those days are so much different, and now you can just go and listen to the song anytime and on any device, and you don't have to have like a clunky device with you that has batteries, and it's just it's such a different time. But I do wanna get into some of your music though.
Great.
So your single "Confident" was featured on Spotify All Funked Up and Funk Drive playlists with over 875,000 streams.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the winner of the John Lennon Songwriting Contest Grand Prize,
Mm-hmm.
2 World Songwriting Awards, 4 Global Music Awards, a California Music Video and Film Award, and nominated for 4 LA Music Awards, and others. And your music has recently been featured on the CW, HBO Max. So I want to get into this single "Confident." Tell us about "Confident."
Yeah, Confident was really funny because I worked with a group based out of Topanga, Mestizo Beat, a bunch of El Salvadorian guys who I had seen like a decade before. So I met them when they were teenagers, just learning music, and then a decade later being able to work with them. And they've done some great traveling around the world for many different bands. What I liked about it is that 2 things. One, by working with other artists, you already know your own ideas. So it expands your universe to be able to collaborate and work with other people. So I encourage all artists to do that. Beyond that, when I was working on Confident, I was amazed that was the song that became, one of my most successful, because when I wrote it, I was like, nobody's going to be into a song that's like super positive. It's all about self-love and learning to love yourself and things like that. And I was like, people are going to think this is the cheesiest type of music. But there's people like Marvin Gaye and Earth, Wind & Fire that were able to give those positive messages. So it just came out and then, became, a successful hit that I thought was going to be, probably lesser known than it became. So it goes to show you got to put stuff out there you don't know. And it wasn't my first song, so you got to put out a lot of stuff before, eventually something hits. So keep going, be encouraged. It takes time.
All right, and then that leads us to your single from Cliff Beach. It's called "Confident." Let's take a listen. And this is "Confident" from Cliff Beach. As soon as...
Come on now. I'll never change myself for you. I'm not made to straight to fit your narrow point of view. Don't fence me in, give me some room. No time for small minds. I got a brand new attitude. I'm confident, learning to love myself, living the life that I want. I ain't living for no one else. That's right, I'm confident. What you see is what you get to. Living with no regrets. Looking forward to what's next. That's right, I'm confident. Hell yeah, I'm confident. I had to break all the rules.
That's Confident by Cliff Beach. Man, that's a really great jazzy, funky sound you got there. How did you develop that sound, and or who would you say, is there anyone you tried to kind of, I mean, you mentioned being into jazz, Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock, and others.
Definitely.
Is that where you kind of got some of your influence from?
Yeah, it's interesting. Growing up, my family, pretty much all my family are ministers. So I grew up in the gospel idiom in D.C., and then I didn't really learn about other secular types of music until I went to Berklee College of Music at 16, and I graduated from there at 19. So that's when I started learning about Herbie Hancock and Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson and other artists. Although I snuck and heard them and saw Soul Train here and there, but for the most part, it was later. So yeah, I mean, Herbie for sure with the Headhunters. I have much respect for him. Just his philosophies on being a Buddhist and how that became part of his music. Same with Wayne Shorter, who helped Tina Turner become Buddhist and then get over her stuff with Ike Turner and things like that. So I think there is a philosophy that most musicians figure out and subscribe to, and then from there musically, I am so excited to be able to be in that funk world but contemporary. And so now looking at people like Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars and Silk Sonic and then having that juxtaposition of working with Bootsy Collins, you get that boomerang because good music will always prevail. So it might not be the most popular music of all time, but even you look at someone like Kendrick Lamar, like with his The Pimp a Butterfly album, that's a jazz record pretty much, and that's why he has Robert Glasper and Terrace Martin and those people on there. So it's nice to be able to see the diversity and acceptance within music, and hopefully America continues to be that beacon to have all styles represented, and the world is always watching that. But then I think globally it gets a lot of acceptance from places like Europe and Asia that love American music, and they love organic music that actually has instruments, not just always beats or synthesizers, which all has a place.
Well, let's talk about that kind of convergence of genres, because there are some songs that I hear that I'm not really sure how to classify. And, there's, Pharrell is one of my favorite artists. I think he's one of the best producers, if not the best producer of all time for hip hop. But he also does so many other things. He's produced rock. I mean, he does a lot of rock, and he does pop, and just about everything. And I think I heard one time many years ago that at the time he was responsible for like 40% of the songs that were on the radio or something, or at least the top songs.
Definitely.
And so, in terms of your music, though, how do you classify it, or is it just multi-genre? What do you call it?
I call it new funk, so it's kind of like neo soul brought soul music back, but in the 90s, 2000s out the East Coast. So new funk, it can be electronic, which I have stuff like that, or it can just be, just like a rebirth or renaissance of funk. And like I said, I think people like Silk Sonic or Mark Ronson, they're bringing that back. So I think people want that because it's party music and it's fun and it's not something you have to like really think too deeply about, although it can have layers underneath, but at the top layer it's just like very accessible.
And so your music has, as I mentioned, been featured on HBO Max. Tell me about that.
So HBO Max, it was on a show Titans, which is one of the DCs, and then the CW. Oh my gosh, the CW took a song "Sock It To Me" that was played on KCRW, and there's a scene in the Dynasty, the reboot of Dynasty. So I grew up in that boomerang of the old Dynasty, seeing the reboot now on CW, and in the last season they have a part where one of the main characters has to go look for a lady of the evening, I'll say. And as soon as they say that, all of a sudden beat drops and music comes on. So I'm like, now on the soundtrack for when people need their mojo.
They're confident. Okay, that's what's up. And so did you know this was going to happen? Did they have to contact you first and get permission?
Yeah, I have multiple. Our publishing company has multiple licensing agents, so they contact the agent and then work out the deal. But I mean, it's definitely you'll be waiting a while to get paid from it, but it's nice to be able to get your music out there. The whole point is that you want to get it out there to ears that will listen, and sometimes that's live, sometimes that's through DJs, sometimes that's through radio. radio. Sometimes that's through TV and licensing and film and sync. So I think, again, diversifying what you can do, but also diversifying where your music can be found. But there are people who are Shazamming music when they're walking through the mall.
All the time.
Or
I
they
do
hear
it all the
air.
time.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you want to make sure you can be wherever people can hear and find you.
Can we rewind for a second? Because I just did a kind of double take in my mind. Did you say you worked with Bootsy Collins?
No. I hadn't worked with Bootsy Collins, but I like that Silk Sonic is working with him because he's like the foundation of all funk.
I just want to make sure I was clear on that, because I was, Bootsy Collins is, one of those guys where, man, if you get a chance to work with him, just that's an all-time great right there.
For sure.
But when we come forward, I do want to talk a little bit more about your book, Side Hustle and Flow. I know a lot about side hustles myself, and we'll get into that when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
15 million California Medi-Cal enrollees to have eligibility status reviewed starting this month. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by Lendistry, story courtesy of CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. Pay attention to your Medi-Cal notices in the mail. As of April 2023, California has 14 months to review the eligibility of 15 million Medi-Cal enrollees after suspending this process throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. An estimated 2 to 3 million Californians may leave the program during this unwinding period. It is critical that enrollees watch out for notifications from local Medi-Cal offices. If you receive a yellow envelope, that means contact information or pertinent information to keep your coverage is missing.
Thanks to our new sponsor, Lendistry. Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered in Los Angeles. Lendistry helps small business owners access the affordable capital needed to grow. Visit Lendistry, LENDISTRY.com/KBLA today.
Agnes was in deep trouble with the IRS.
I owed the IRS a lot of money. I did not know what I was going to do. I was scared.
Agnes caught a break and found out about Optima Tax Relief.
But when I called Optima Tax, they guaranteed me that they were going to help me out the best that they can. And they did.
Optima stopped the IRS.
No more telephone calls, no more letters. Optima Tax took care of everything. I can finally sleep at night. I was stress-free.
Agnes was finally free from her IRS nightmare.
It was like a burden was lifted off of me, and it was a great feeling.
Are you in deep trouble with the IRS? You might want to listen to Agnes.
I would refer Optima Tax Relief to anyone because they got me debt-free from owing the IRS any more money.
Call Optima right now for your free consultation. Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Tide Power Pods have 85% more Tide.
Who needs that much more Tide?
Well, when giving your muddy dog a bath turns into you getting a mud shower. Yikes, you're gonna need more Tide. When your wine tasting becomes a wine spilling. Yeah, you're gonna need more Tide. Or if your favorite shirt is your kid's favorite napkin. Great, I'm gonna need more Tide. My mom gave me that shirt.
It's a mess out there. Tide Power Pods have 85% more Tide versus Tide Pods.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on Areva Martin in real time, the Friday edition. I'm Avi Bernard, pleased to be with you. And we are joined by Cliff Beach, musician and author of the book Side Hustle and Flow. And the title of the book alone, I feel like it's probably based off the movie Hustle and Flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the title is very alluring, and especially for someone like myself who has had a lot of experience in the business of the side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got into radio. I wanted to be an actor, and I am an actor, but I got into radio as as something that it was interesting to me, but I also needed a job, and so I started interning, and I actually turned into a career, but
nice.
But it started as a side hustle, and I think, when you're trying to build up your career, you're trying to reach your career goals and be in the profession or in the art that you want to be in, and I think you're going to have to do things along the way, because you're not obviously going to be able to make a living at that, right away, and maybe for many years. And so let's talk about the idea of side hustle and flow. Like, what's other than the Terrence Howard movie, let's talk about how you came to that title.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. So this was my pandemic project. So during 2020, I was like, let me start a podcast and let me start writing this book. I had originally started working on a book called The Art of Awesome in 2014, where I was interviewing people who I thought were awesome, and some of that made it into the last chapter of the book. But I felt like at that time, I was like, I don't feel like I know enough to write. And then when the pandemic hit, March of 2020, all my shows were canceled and things like that. I was like, well, what do I do? And everybody was flooding online to like, okay, let's go Instagram live and play for 5 people, 10 people at a time, whatever. I mean, DJ Nice and people, they blew up. But,
I remember that, yeah.
But I was like, let me take a course, because they had so many free courses. So I was like, let me take a course. And I took a course from Scribe Media and learned how to outline and create the idea for the book. And originally the book was going to be titled From Full to Fulfilled, because I feel like there's busyness and then there's business, and they're different. And so LA already has a lot of side hustlers by nature. It's like we call it the Hollywood Shuffle, the Inglewood Shuffle, whatever you want to call it. The point is you got to do a lot it's expensive to live here.
Yeah.
And sometimes one thing dries up, you got to go to another oasis and do something else. And sometimes you're gonna have. I mean, already we know statistically you're gonna have like at least 7 careers. You're gonna have like at least 7 jobs.
Okay.
In your lifetime. I
didn't know that.
Yeah, for sure. Because there are things like Airbnb, that started. Nobody thought that was a thing, and it's just 2 guys with an air mattress, and they're like, we'll make breakfast for you because the hotel conference
is that booked. Where the name is based from?
Yeah, exactly. And now it's $1 billion thing. So it's like, people. There are jobs that don't even exist today that 10 years from now will exist. That your kids will have that you couldn't even think of because that's the nature of technology. Every 12, 18 months, there's a new iPhone. There's something. So there's new apps. People are always reinventing the wheel, so to speak. And so from there, from full to fulfilled, I was like, I want to have a fulfilling life, not just a full life, because if you're just busy all the time, if you're climbing a ladder but it's along the wrong building, then that's a waste of effort and time. And everyone always talks about return on investment. Really, I think people need to focus on return on energy. Or when people say, how do you spend your time? They really should be thinking, how do you invest your time? Because if you're not investing your time, then you're not going to get anything back. So it's just like you have all these like dribble accounts where just time is just gone. That's how people can blink and they're like, what did I do the last 6 months? Nothing. I have nothing to show for it. Like, what did I spend my money on? What did I do with my time? So Side Hustle and Flow, it did have a little bit of parallels with the movie, and that I felt like he was a guy who had that hustle and he was doing something unorthodox. Now, he was doing something that maybe not legal, but at the same time, I think the main thing is that he wanted to get his dreams out there and he was going to make that happen no matter what. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but if you're a hustler, nobody can out-hustle you. You know what I mean? And the thing is, like, when you were asking me earlier about kids and delayed gratification and what do you explain to them, when I talk to students that I'm mentoring for music, I always tell them, like, what do you want to be as an artist? Do you want to be good or do you want to be great? And if you want to be great, then time, cost, and quality are all linked together. If you want it to be done fast, it'll either be more expensive or we'll have to make it cheaper. So like there's concessions that you make, but it's not about winning the awards. It's not about the streams. It's about looking in the mirror and knowing that every day you are better than who you were yesterday. And if you can say that, then you've done your job. And if you can't, then you have work to do.
So let's I want to give people something they can look forward to reading in this book. So, I mean, in addition to what you've already said, it sounds great, but I mean something personal about you.
Sure.
do you talk about any of the obstacles you faced?
Definitely.
And can you just briefly describe in about a minute, maybe the most difficult obstacle you faced en route to where you are today?
Yeah. So when I came out to LA 20 years ago, like many musicians, I thought American Idol was going to be my golden ticket. So I went. I made it through multiple rounds of auditions. I finally get I finally get to Simon and Randy and the whole thing, and I get let go, and I'm crushed, just crushed.
Right.
But quickly, well, one, it made me very angry. And so by being angry, that was helpful to then be a catalyst to say, you know what, I don't care what anybody says about me. I'm going to write my own ticket. I don't need anybody to tell me what to do. But beyond that, also realizing that I never wanted to win American Idol. I just wanted to be a musician and put my stamp on the world and leave a legacy that had nothing to do with reality TV.
And American Idol was just one of your was a means to that end.
Exactly, but not the only one.
Right,
for sure.
Exactly. So you auditioned for American Idol many times. You got into the room with Randy. Was that back when Simon was doing it?
Yep, Simon, Randy, the whole crew.
Wow, and Paula.
Hell yeah.
And so, what was that like? I mean, just being in that room. I mean, you've seen these people on TV. You've dreamt of this moment, and you're there. What was that like?
I mean, I think it's like when you watch the movie Hamilton, or the musical Hamilton. It's like, take your shot. I took my shot. The thing is that you have regrets in life when you don't. It's not about the outcome, because look at Jennifer Hudson. She didn't win. Look how big she is. So it's like,
I think some of the biggest people from that competition are the people who didn't win.
Exactly. And now, I mean, if you won, I wouldn't even know who won the last 10 years of American Idol.
Yeah. Well, Cliff Beach, it's been a pleasure speaking to you and getting to know your journey and hearing some of your music. How can people find the book and listen to your music?
Well, you can find me streaming everywhere under Cliff Beach on all streaming platforms. You can find me on social media at Cliff Beach Music. And the book, Side Hustle and Flow, is out on Amazon, Audible, sidehustleandflow.net, or blackspringpressgroup.com.
Well, thank you so much, Cliff Beach. Much continued success to you. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and hopefully we'll get to check back in with you soon.
Hopefully too, Avi. Thank you so much.
It's been our pleasure. And coming up next on KBLA Talk 1580, the next voice you hear will be Robin Ayers with the Raw Report. As much as I've been looking forward to this conversation with Cliff, and as much as I love doing the show, today I've been looking forward to this moment right now because I'm going to go home and watch the Laker game and say a few Hail Marys along the way, because if they don't win this one, it's not looking good for us. So, and my man Candy Andy has his fingers crossed in the other room. So I'm going to go do that right now, and I'm on my way home. I'm going to be listening to the wonderful Robin Ayers on the Raw Report. I'm Avi Bernard, and I am gone.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Julius White. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. An oil tanker on its way to Houston, Texas, has been seized by the Iranian Navy. Iran's military says the tanker sailed away from the scene of a crash with an Iranian vessel that killed 2 and injured several crew members. That, though, is disputed. In a statement, the U.S. Navy called Iran's actions contrary to international law and disruptive to regional security. Back stateside, former President Trump is suggesting he could sign legislation banning abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy if he's elected president in 2024. And a new study is naming Southwest the worst airline in the U.S. Wallet Hub